In this video, I am going to solve this problem where we are given f of x is equal to sine of x and g of x is equal to cosine of x. Furthermore, we make the assumption that if p is equal to f of x plus f of y and q is equal to g of x plus g of y, then we need to show that f of x minus y over 2 is equal to plus minus 1/2 times square root of 4 minus p square minus q square. The way we are going to solve this problem is this. We are going to first find the value of p and square it. Then we are going to find the value of q, we are going to square it. Then we are going to add p square and q square. Then we will go ahead and simplify it and come up with the desired equation, which is this one. Given p is equal to f of x plus f of y, so since f of x is sine of x, so p is going to be sine x plus sine of y. But this is the same as 2 times sine of x plus y divided by 2 times cosine of x minus y divided by 2. By the way I go from this place to this place is by using this formula. Remember, sine of a plus sine of b is equal to 2 sine a plus b over 2 times cosine a minus b over 2. That's what it is. Now we are going to square p. So if I square p, I get p square is equal to, on the right hand side is going to be 2 square 4 times sine square of x plus y divided by 2 times cosine square of x minus y divided by 2. This is my p square. Let me just label it by equation 1. Now, in exactly the same way, I am going to find the value of q square. So, given q is equal to g of x plus g of y is going to be cosine of x plus cosine of y. As you can probably guess, I am going to convert it into something like this. So, it's going to be 2 times cosine of x plus y divided by 2 times cosine of x minus y divided by 2. Again, the formula that I have used here is this: cosine of a plus cosine of b, that is equal to 2 cosine of a plus b divided by 2 times cosine of a minus b divided by 2. By the way, this problem is nothing more than just straightforward application of this formula and this formula. It basically tests your knowledge of these two formulas, okay, and checks whether you can apply it into a different context. So now let's go ahead and square q. If I square q, I'm going to get q square, which is going to be 4 cosine square of x plus y divided by 2 times cosine square of x minus y divided by 2. Let's call this my equation number 2. Now I have p square in equation 1 and q square in equation 2. Let me go ahead and add these two guys. So if I add them, I get p square plus q square, okay? And that's going to be equal to this. So 4 sine square x plus y over 2 times cosine square x minus y over 2 plus 4 cosine square x plus y over 2 times cosine square x minus y over 2. Now on my left hand side, I still have p square plus q square, right? Now look, I could factor something out. Definitely I could factor out a 4. Can we do better than that? Is there anything else? Yes, as it turns out, I could factor out cosine square x minus y. See, there is a cosine square x minus y, cosine square x minus y. So I could factor out cosine square x minus y, actually x minus y over 2, right? If I factor that out, in the first term I am left with sine square of x plus y divided by 2. In the second term I am left with cosine square of x plus y over 2. That's interesting. This thing is very simple. It evaluates to just 1. So we have, because remember sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta is equal to 1. That's what it is. So p square plus q square is equal to 4 cosine square x minus y divided by 2. Now look that cosine square of x minus y over 2, I could write it as 1 minus sine square x minus y over 2. That comes from the formula sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta is equal to 1. So if you subtract cosine squared theta from both sides, you get sine squared theta is equal to 1 minus cosine squared theta. If you want to find the sine squared theta, cosine squared theta, you can do the same thing. So anyway, so let's go ahead and simplify it further. So p square plus q square is equal to, I use distributive property, 4 times 1 is 4, minus 4 times sine square x minus y over 2 is going to be 4 times sine square x minus y divided by 2. Now I kind of move things around. I'm going to bring this term to the left and move the p square q square to the right. If I do that, I get the following. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Okay, so if I do that, I get the following. Okay, so this is what I get. Sine square x minus y over 2 is equal to 1/4 times p minus q, 1/4 times 4 minus p square minus q square. Now obviously we need to take square root of it. So if I take the square root of it, I get this. Now on the left hand side, square and square root is going to cancel out. That's going to give me sine of x minus y over 2 is equal to, now square root of 1/4 is going to be plus or minus 1/2, then times square root of 4 minus p square minus q square. Now by the way, look, my f of x is what? F of x is sine of x, right? If that is the case, my f of x minus y over 2 is going to be sine of x minus y over 2, right? This is exactly what we've got here. That means we can say that f of x minus y divided by 2 is equal to plus or minus square root of 4 minus p square minus q square. This is exactly we have set out to show. Now let me summarize what I have done here. Basically, I have taken the given definition of p and q, okay, and also f of x, g of x, and then I have found the p, found the q, then I squared p, I squared q. Then I add the p square and q square to get this. Then I use the trig properties to simplify it. Finally, we simplify it through all this process and we come up with this final answer, which is the desired answer, which leads to this. I hope that this discussion was helpful. Thank you very much.